My name is Jennifer Bourgeot, and I am the United States Country Coordinator. I'm also the coordinator of the United States Student Research Symposia. And these are 6 student-focused events. They take place across the United States. The slide that I'm showing right now is actually the list of locations and dates for this year, along with the different region of the US. And if you want more information on those student research symposia, then those is the website that you can use is globe.gov/SRS, and you can get right to the website and find out more information about those. Last week, we had a presentation by a teacher from New York City who shared her experience coming to the Student Research Symposia. And then next month, we'll have another one by a teacher from Alaska, actually, and her bringing her Boys and Girls Club group to the Northwest Student Research Symposia. So we're really excited that you've joined us. We have 14, 15, and growing in the terms of the numbers online. So thank you very much for taking time out of your day for that. I heard that we have some classrooms maybe following along, so that's really exciting. This is really the first time that we've opened these to classrooms in this way, so we're excited about that. And Cornell Lewis is from the team at SSAI, and I also see that Lisa Dallas from NASA is on, and she works with them as well to coordinate that. So we're really excited to have those on that have joined us again. And if everyone that joins us could just mute your microphone, that would be great. We are recording these so that you can go back and review them, and also for teachers and students who maybe didn't have the chance to come online. What I'll do then is, if you have questions, if you want to raise your hand, you can do that. You can vote. You can put your question in the chat. And after Cornell is done presenting, or I'll try and do my best to interrupt him when necessary, then we can ask him questions as we go along. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cornell. And again, just a quick reminder for those of you joining us that this is being recorded at this time, and I just want to make you aware of that. So Cornell, with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can take over.
All right. Everyone see that? Jen, can you see the screen?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so welcome everybody. Like she said, my name is Cornell Lewis, and I'm one of the project managers for the globe.gov website. So today we're going to talk about getting the data out. So there's the process of getting the data in, where you use the app or the website to enter your measurements. And then there's how do you get the data out. So there's essentially 3 ways to get your data out. There's the visualization system, which is a map. So if you want to map your data, use that tool, and I'll show you where that is on the website. There's the Advanced Data Access tool, which is like, I think, what we're focusing on today, or ADAT. And then there's the API if you want to programmatically, get your data out using a script, and you have lots of data. That's a process you can use as well. So I'm going to jump over to the website. Stop sharing for a minute. So this is the GLOBE website, globe.gov. And what we're focusing on is GLOBE data. And you'll see that there's a number of options. This is data entry form, so getting the data in. Getting the data out, you've got visualized data, which is the map. You've got retrieve data ADAT, which is a spreadsheet type of output. CSV files you can open up in an Excel file. And then there's the GLOBE API, which is the, it's really for more advanced users. If you have some programming knowledge, it allows you to write scripts to pull out lots of data from the website. So I believe we're going to focus on ADAT, which is retrieving your data. If you have any other questions about the other ways, we can talk about that or go over that as well if there's time. So if we look at the ADAT tool, clicked on this link, you go to this screen, which has a screenshot of it with a link to the actual tool. There's actually also a link to a video tutorial on ADAT, and there's also a link to a PowerPoint presentation that actually contains all three ways of getting the data out, Viz, ADAT, and the API. So if you want, it has step-by-step instructions on how to get the data basically out. So if I click on this link, it should bring up that screen. If you're logged in, you'll see you should see sign out here. You should see the ability to load and save, which we'll talk about later. But the default is you come to an instructions screen that just gives some basic guidelines on how to use the system. It talks about you want to select at least one protocol, but you can also then select multiple filters to get your data out. So why don't we just go through it once? So the first step is you want to determine what protocols you want to look at. So you would select protocols, and then you get a pop-up which then displays all the different protocols that GLOBE has, broken down by sphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, pedosphere. So let's just say I pick aerosol. Hit add filter, it gets added to the left side there. So you have the option to do a date range filter. You can filter by data count. So if I did date range, there's a slider here. I can then decide, what I want to do. So the way it works right now is you have to actually use the slider, and then when you get to where you want, close to where you want, you can click this and then pick on the exact date. So if I want to do all 2019 to today, I add a filter. At that point, I can then apply the filters, but I can also filter by site. So if you know the name of your site, you can filter by country, by state or territory. You can do proximity to a lake or a river. You can filter by your school, your teacher, if your partner, elevation ranges, lat long ranges, proximity to lat long. There's a lot of different ways you can filter. Once you're done filtering, we'll just stop there. If I select filter, it then is going to find all the sites that have measurements with the parameters I've selected. So in this case, 81 sites have entered aerosol in this date range. So you get the name of the school, you get the name of the site, lat long, and then elevation. So I have the option to download the measurement data. So this is the actual values, the data, or I can get the summary data, which is pretty much this, which also includes the counts, number of measurements. If I click on this, it's going to tell me there's approximately 1,300 measurements. Do I want to continue? So if it's a very large number, you can't go beyond 1 million records. So it will ask you to reduce your filter range. But let's say I want to continue, it then will start to put the data into a CSV file. And this process could take anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes, depending on how much data you've selected. So it will go through the process and it will kind of tell you almost ready, download pending. So we'll give it a few seconds. There it goes. All right, so ready to download. So now if I hit download, it then puts it into a zip file. Let's see, let me change my sharing. You probably can't see it. Let me change my sharing for a second here. Share my desktop. So you'll see that it downloaded the data to Excel file, a CSV that I opened up in an Excel, and you can see at the top it has the actual, in the columns it has the different values, lat long, elevation, ID, date, and there's actually the second row gives a description of what they are, and then actual value. So the site ID, org name, site ID, site name, all the way across, and all the actual data. So then you can then take this CSV file, import it into other applications. You might use other mapping applications. It works with ArcGIS. It works with other common applications.
Cornell, can you just make that a little bit bigger?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me zoom in a bit. Let's see, let me zoom. That's probably too big. Let's go. Is that better? Better?
Yes. Yes, that's better.
Okay. Let me go back to just the website. Okay. So like I said, I could further filter this down if I just want to see. Let's see, what's an example? Let's see, United States. It's US. Oh, I'm sorry. I want country. Apply filter again. It will then show me just the sites in the US. Also, you can save something. So if you've entered all these parameters, you can save, enter a name. So I could do aerosol US. And then later, if I come back, I can load that. And here it is. So it will then preload all the parameters I've selected, and it will bring up the data again. So it's a quick way to access my data. You have to be logged in to actually do that. So you have to have a Globe account. So the same account you use for the website or the app is what you would use here as well. So that is a very quick overview of ADAT. Jen, did they want to also see the VIS system, or is the focus just on ADAT?
So the focus would be on ADAT right now. But before, so I know that there's some data filters and combining data sets. So can you go over kind of how you can download, what that looks like when you download a couple things together? Because that, I could see that being one of the things they might be doing. For instance, you know, with water quality, they might be downloading several measurements for that.
You mean various, more than one protocol?
Yes.
So like if they wanted to do air temperature and clouds, or air temperature and precipitation, or clouds and precipitation, you can
Right.
do up to 5 protocols. So, you know, I could do multiple, and then there's the option to include sites that have any protocol checked or all protocol checked. So if I do any, it's going to do either one. If I do all, it has to include both. So if I do all, and I add filter, there's probably going to be quite a few because there are a lot of cloud measurements. So it's probably going to be over 1 million. So this is a case where you would want to filter it down by a date range. In fact, let's just start over because that's going to probably be too big. Hello. I'm sorry. So in this case, it found almost 3,000 sites that have air temperature and clouds. So it's the same process. You know, if I select this saying there's quite a few, but it's the same process. Then you can the bottom line is that you can then get the data into a CSV file or a spreadsheet that you can then use to import into other applications, or you can then see all the data in one format. Versus the VIS system, which is more of a map interface, which focuses on seeing individual sites, by, or filtering by school, or by again by country, or different parameters. But I mean, that's kind of the difference between the two. Is one is more of a map, and one is more of a spreadsheet type of interface.
And you can, so with
But
that,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, you know, you might want to be able to search by your school, which is, you know, a good example. So let's see, let me change the range. Just say, so now I'm filtering just by my school, air temperature and clouds in the past 3 years. So I mean, that may be what they would typically want to do, is to filter by their school, or they can filter by their teacher, and then you can see all sites that the teacher has the data associated with the site or the school. If you happen to know the site name, that's also a very common way of searching if you want to just see all data for a particular site. So if your school has entered data at a particular site and you know the site name, you can do that. So you know, it's pretty straightforward. I think you just have to play with it and look at the different parameters that you can use. But otherwise, I think it's, you know, pretty straightforward. What do you think, Jen?
I have another question. So I can see where schools might want to know who else has a large enough data set for them to do a comparison. So for instance, if they're doing some atmosphere measurements, how can they tell which data might be, is there a way to tell how much data might be, or schools that might be ones to look at, just based on, we have this amount of data. Is there another school that has an equivalent amount of data that we could do a comparison between? Is there a way to do that? Using maybe the data count range or?
Well, yeah, I was going to suggest you could, if you use the data count range, you can say, you know, I'm looking for sites that have entered a lot of data. So if we, let's get rid of my school, and let's just keep it simple. This example, let's go back to aerosols, for example, and date range. So it gives me the maximum. So if I say, okay, sites that have entered in a certain amount of measurements, there are none. Let's take out this. None. Okay, so there's none there either. So aerosols, not an example. Let's go back to clouds. No, I have date range. Let's see. Okay. Let's let this finish before I reset it. That doesn't seem right. This is not working. That seems odd. It's not working. Seems like something's come back. Yeah, I'm not sure why the count range is not, doesn't seem to be working correctly. But it should give you something. Yeah, so something's wrong with the count range. But that's how you would do it. You would set the, I'll make a note of that. You would set the count range to a more larger number, and you can see which sites have entered the large number of measurements based off the count range. Let me just try this one. Try another thing here. Huh. Yeah, there's something wrong with the count range. I apologize for that. Yeah. All right. Well, we found a bug. Thank you. So
That's what we're here for, to find bugs while you're online.
Yep. Of course. Now the viz system also allows you to compare, compare two sites based off a particular protocol, to plot graphs and to output data that way. But if you want to use ADAT, then yeah, you'd use the count date range to see, who's into the most amount of measurements based off a protocol. Let's try one more. Sorry, temperature, data count range. Yep, definite bug. So don't use this until we fix it.
All right, sounds good.